It's just remote control.
So this is actually what it is. Okay? It's actually my show and tell about some of the birds of the Kimberley coast.
What material is that?
Okay, now I've had the good fortune in the last few years. My wife was born in there and myself do some work in the middle of the year in the winter time on this boat. So we travel in this boat as guest lecturers from Broome to Darwin and back to Darwin, going back and forth to a few trips. So that's where we've seen these birds on these trips. And basically we travel in this boat here, and then there's this other little boat here called Explorer, and all the passengers, there's 48 passengers on this and a couple of guest lecturers and crew, and all of us are able to fit, the passengers and the guest lecturers are able to fit into this boat there, which looks small, but it's got two 150 horsepower engines on the back, and it's able to get into all these amazing little bays and islands that we go to. I mean, we go to a few of them in 10 days. You'd need 10 years to even scratch the surface of the number of islands and bays along this coast, and it's an amazing place, and it's going to work for me now. So this is the Kimberley region. This is where we travel along the coast here. Starting from Darwin, we go across this gulf here, which the baby's called Bonaparte Gulf is a name for it, but Bonaparte is a nickname. It's quite rough sometimes, and we go into various bays around this coast here. This part of Australia is a bit like the top end, the climate, and probably Cape York. So it's got wet and dry. The dry is really dry. So this time of the year when the rain stops over the Kimberley area, it virtually doesn't rain again until November. So it's virtually a drought. So everything, all the birds and trees and vegetation and everything has to survive 6 to 8 months without a drop of rain. And the rainfall is fairly similar to the Cape and top end, I imagine. It's about 1,500 mils around this part. Around Broome it drops back to about 600 mils. So it's a typical monsoon climate. And it's also a very shallow coastline. You can see, this is just a section of that last map I had, and you can see here that there's lots of reef, and that along the coastline is really more than about 40 metres deep. There's some hole, some deep holes as you go around, but most of it's quite shallow. And it's got a big plateau, a bit like the escarpment at Kakadu, if you've been there, that escarpment country. So that's all that there is just dissected with canyons and gorges, and it's an amazing country. You never build a road over that because it's, you have to build a bridge every few kilometres to go down to a gorge and up again. It's an amazing place, and it's the sort of place that when we go on this boat cruise, there's people are there, it's on their bucket list to go and see the Kimberley. It's one of those places that everybody likes to see, and a lot of people go inland, but seeing the coast is another experience because the only way to get there is by boat, or maybe helicopter. You can't drive there. There's a couple of spots you can get to, but it's a real exhibition. And also, it's got massive tides. And when you're travelling around this coast, you won't see any little runabouts or anything. You see maybe tourist boats, the occasional yacht is travelling around. You won't see anybody else. A rocky coast with 2,633 islands. I've got that number there because that comes from a 2010 report by West Australian Department of Environment Conservation, and they actually went and counted all these islands. Ones that were down, I think it was the smallest one that they counted. They haven't got names. I think only about 300 of them have got names, English names anyway. And the smallest island they counted was about as big as this room. So they really counted a lot. It's got a lot of islands, and they're very, very beautiful, and they're very important because a lot of the islands are like refugia for there's animals on some of these islands that have survived and been unaffected by feral animals and all that sort of stuff like the rest of Australia. There's virtually no feral animals on these islands. There's one weed I've ever seen on it, that's the wild passion fruit, but there have been rats on some of the islands which they've got rid of, but basically it's an amazing place for that reason. And as you can see, it's a truly beautiful coastline. So I thought I'd just, and also here we go, largest tides in Australia. Another feature of the Kimberley, 10 to 12 metre tides. And that's just massive. You can see there, this is a famous place that probably most people have heard about. It's called Horizontal Falls. And as the tide drops down the 10 metres or so out here, it's still trying to empty itself out of that vein in the background, and there's another one behind there. And if you're lucky when you go there, you can go through. Maureen and I have both been through both of those gorges there, those canyons. And you'll also see the tide marker. See the dark mark on the bottom of the rocks? That's where the high tide comes up to the top of that and down low. So animals and birds all live through this country. There are crocodiles swimming through there occasionally. And you'll also notice when you look at it that the country is quite arid in this part. And it still gets pretty good rainfall here, 1,500 millimetres a year, but it's just that it's very rocky in this particular place. And the savanna that's growing on there is really struggling to hang on, although it is. This is some lovely savanna. There's also some nice savanna woodland. Savanna is found right across the tropical region of Australia, Cape York, topping right through, and it's typically in the Kimberley as well. There's some sort of lush stuff here, a bit of spinifex underneath, and the old bottle tree with poetry, which usually we've heard about from the Kimberley, sort of iconic tree. So, but there happens to be in the Kimberley little beautiful patches of jungle called monsoon vine thicket. Monsoon vine thicket's it's sort of a deciduous type of rainforest. I think 40 miles scrub, I think, is a type of monsoon vine thicket. And there's various patches of it around Cape York. I haven't been up there much, so I'm not sure, but people probably be aware of it. And late in the dry season, some of the emerging trees will lose leaves. And it just survives in little patches like that. It survived there because it's safe from fire in that little gully there. So you can see you've got quite arid. You've got spinifex and sort of stuff growing on the sides. But down here you've got this jungle and surviving a bit of seepage sometimes from the sandstone cliffs and away from fire is the main thing. This is salt water here in the bottom. So this is one of the little sort of canyons you can go over. And monsoon vine thicket in Kimberley has a total area estimated at about 50 square kilometres. 5 k's by 10 k's. It's a very, very minuscule amount of rainforest. It's little small patches like this, as small as this room, to several hectares, and it's very spread out over the Kimberley region. And for that reason, a lot of the animals that live in here, the birds that like monsoon vine thicket, like yellow-footed scrub fowl and that sort of stuff, they rely on another form of closed forest to survive, and that is the mangroves. So if it wasn't for the mangroves, in Kimberley there is about 2,000 square kilometres of mangroves, which often sits right up beside the monsoon vine forest. So unfortunately my little red thing's not working, but you see just in there, there's a little patch of monsoon vine forest in there. Okay, good. Thank you very much. So see there's a little patch of monsoon vine forest in there, and because it's got the mangroves, the closed forest next to it, birds and that move quite freely between the two because the canopy is closed over. So if it wasn't for the mangroves, we probably wouldn't have the survival of a lot of those birds that managed to survive. So I just wanted to give you a bit of an idea there of what the place is like, the environment, and what I'm going to try and do now is just tell you a couple of little stories about some of the birds and also some of the places that are sort of big features as you go along the coast. First thing I've mentioned is osprey. The coastline along here is osprey heaven. Right? It's perfect. They've got all these lovely rocky high cliffs to make their nests. The real estate there is fabulous for ospreys. And they build their nests there and there's plenty of fish for them to eat. It's a lovely place for ospreys. And they use, if they can't find a cliff to live on, or build their nest, they can always find a boa tree. But they're really, really messy tenants. You can see them. They're shocking. Look at that, all over the place. One of the reasons they're like that is because of this. That was a very lucky shot. Actually, I saw Dominic have a photo like that of a boogie. Didn't you? So, actually, you figure that there's a strategy in this, and that is, you don't shit in your own nest, basically. You just out the back. And when you go back to look at that slide before, you can see that the nest is nice and tidy, but outside is a real mess. Actually, somebody asked a question about that, if the boa tree would appreciate all the extra fertiliser around it. Now today there's a lot of talk, not everyone was at the talks today, but there's a lot of talk about pied oyster catchers and beach nesting birds. In the Kimberley, pied oyster catchers are quite common, and the sooty oyster catchers are a little bit less common, but there's nevertheless still around. And I don't know if you realise this, but and you probably people know, but sooty oyster catchers, their bill never stops growing. It continues to grow at about like the speed of your fingernails. And what happens is they just keep wearing it down through use. And they can also change the shape of their bill depending on what they're eating. So when they're eating oysters, but if it'll get probably like that one, they're really hard. And when they're eating different things like worms or whatever, their bill can be different shape. And if you look at this one back here, this is really pointed. And maybe he's eating sort of softer foods or something. I think the male and female have got different length bills as well. Sandstone shrike thrush. Say that over a couple of minutes. Sandstone shrike thrush. A lovely bird. And thanks Morgan's Now, notice I call it the Guion bird. Okay, the reason for this is in the Kimberley, Kimberley's famous for these paintings here, the Wanchina painting, right? Now that isn't a Guion painting, this is a Wanchina. So this is what most people have heard of in the Kimberley, right? But in the Kimberley there's also these other paintings that are quite small, about that big. That one looks a bit there, but it's only about that big. Usually quite small, and they're very old. 17,000 years might have been estimated at their age. And Aboriginal people don't know much of the story about these, and they often will paint the Wanchina over the top of the river, so they respect them, but they don't really know the stories about them much. And they say that if the paintings were made by the Guion bird, or the sandstone thrush, which is always hanging around that area, and they say that he or she makes the paintings by pecking at the rock, and then the rock bleeds, and out comes this beautiful painting. So that's one of the stories that are. It's always lovely to hear those connections that Indigenous people have with the country. I like those. Now, the great bowerbird. I put this in here because great bowerbirds are fairly common on the Cape as well, aren't they? Inland from here, all around. They're very common bird. But one of the things I like about Kimberley region is, can you see any evidence of people? Usually you can. When you get a bower, you'll usually find, red tall tops, bits of glass, bits of plastic, stuff from human beings. This place here, where we went to and looked, there wasn't one bit of evidence of a person. It was all shells, and the only green bits in it, they love green. I don't think this one was active at the time, but when I've seen green bits around this one, it's usually fresh fruits that they've picked and dropped there to display. Very unusual to see a bower without any evidence of us. I think it's quite nice. Today, people were talking about the little tern at our thing we met today, and this bird is endangered in Queensland, New South Wales and Victoria, I believe. In the Kimberley region, it's a different population. It's not endangered there. But these ones are non-breeding ones. And there are breeding birds on some islands. I haven't seen them breeding over there, I've just seen the non-breeding ones. And this population, some people have suggested may come down from Indonesia. There's a lot of egg collecting at Little Turn in Indonesia, and there's some suggestion that there might even be a movement to northwestern Australia for them to breed. But just in the last year and year before, I started to see a few more of these turning up, just an observation. But there's plenty of them around here in the winter time, but they're non-breeding. And this is the common sandpaper that's not sandpaper, common sandpaper that's not so common. I call it rare sandpaper, which you hardly ever see. But in Kimberley, in about August, you'll see them start to turn up. You can always pick this bird because it's got white around its eye and it's bobs. It's always bobbing its tail and it never stops. And you just find them around the waterfalls and they're just sort of feeding on whatever they can find, insects. So the way that they breed in, I believe they breed in Russia. Now this is another little bird that migrates to the Kimberley in the winter time from the south. That's Maureen there holding that one. That bird landed on the boat late one afternoon, or just in the evening, and we sort of kept it on the boat overnight because we didn't know what it was and what we figured that was the right thing to do. And the next morning we released it. Wilson storm petrel. If you've ever seen one there, it's just an incredible little bird. And you look at that thing, it cannot stand up on its feet. They're not strong enough to hold it up. And it relies, it's definitely at home in the ocean, you know, where it spends all its life. Apparently very common these, probably I've heard sometimes that they may be one of the most common birds on earth and we've never seen them. It's just they live right out in the oceans. And when they're feeding, they pat those little feet on the surface to stir things up and people across the glacier where they can find on the surface. So quite a beautiful bird, and that one was if you like, a stowaway, ended up on the boat. There's another one that ended up on the boat on Friday, Rosalie Turn, a young one. And I mucked around for ages trying to identify that, and if anybody wants to correct me, they're welcome, because I'm not sure, but I think it's a Rosalie Turn, immature. Just like the tail feathers longer than the wing feathers, and I think that might be. So there's a few of them around that part of Kimberley. And again, this little chap landed on that boat, and then we sort of kept it for a while and released it. It was all right. Now, so that's around the sea a bit. Now the mangroves, in that photo, I've got a see a little brown honey. They drive you nuts everywhere in the Kimberley. It's all the birds you hear in the daytime half the time. Actually, one of the things that surprises me in the Kimberley sometimes is just how you don't see a lot of birds sometimes, and people say that when they're travelling around the bay. We're all birds because, I don't know, they just seem to be spread out over all this country. You've got to get into the bay and all to see them. But this one, you can go, I guarantee, travel through the Kimberley a couple of times and never see one, but you hear it every day. In the mangroves, just hiding in the mangroves. These white-bellied seagulls, they're around on the rocky coast, but they also love the mangroves. And I've just got a few little photos here showing an event in one of the mangrove creeks that we were in one day. This chap here was really, really hanging out for flying fox. He was hungry. And there was a flying fox colony on the other side of the creek. And you can see the flying foxes here. It's the black flying fox. And what was happening was this same eagle, white-bellied seagull, was flying across the colony and freaking the black flying foxes out. So what had happened is they'd all be trying to get down lower in the canopies. They'd all be climbing down, and of course it was getting a bit crowded further down. Sometimes the younger ones, flying foxes, would sort of fly out for a second and come back in to try and find another spot. And that was their mistake, because this fella grabbed them as they just waited. And that was obviously their strategy: fly across, fly across, fly across, and then finally one would come out and they grabbed it. And this particular guy, we were sitting there on the boat watching this, it was amazing. This particular one got the flying fox and then dropped it in the water. And flying foxes can swim, poor things, and it was trying to swim along the water surface in this tidal creek, and then we saw a crocodile on the other bank. And crocodiles love flying foxes, so it started coming across. This fella thought, no, I found this first, so he came down and grabbed it again. So So it's picked it up there, but you see it hasn't got a proper grip on it. It's just got one end to the wing there. And what happened then was, this is what happened here, was it got right to there. So there's a flying fox just there. This seagull, same big seagull, landed there, and he looked at it, and I think he decided, because we left not long after this, I think he decided better judgment was leave it to the croc. Because I'm sure if that guy had a go at getting that out of there, he might have been lunch as well. This one. That's not the same croc, actually, it's just another one. And how about that for lunch? I've never seen that before. So this trip we went out and we saw a white-bellied seagull grab one of those puffer fish, and you know how they blow up like that when they're caught. And I mean, white-bellied seagulls eat a huge variety of food. I've heard of them eating all sorts of things, but this amazed me because it was actually taken to a nest where its young was. As far as I know, puffer fish are poisonous. And originally, was it Fuji? I think that's Fugu. That's the bit. There's a bit you can't eat, isn't there? Like, the people eat it and they die sometimes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you have to have a license to
yes,
cook
yeah,
that.
Yeah. So that's why I've given it that name. So maybe he knows the trick. But anyway, and we couldn't get close enough to get a good shot, but it was good enough to see. Brahminy kite, there's plenty of them through the mangroves there, and their nests well hidden in there. There's they're a nice bird, beautiful, handsome bird. They're mainly scavengers, of course, and I was only reading the other day, they haven't got very strong talons, the Brahminy kite, quite weak, so they can't really grab stuff as well as they can scavenge like that and actually attack and kill things. Now we do have a bit of luck to see these occasionally. This one was a great bill heron out in the open, which is really quite unusual. As you know, they're very shy and they usually sneaking in around the shadows of the mangroves. But this particular day when we came around, there it was, right out there in front of us. And it ran along the edge right on the just get a few photos of it just before it took off. Now, one of the reasons people come to the Kimberley is to look for the chestnut ray, which is found in the Northern Territory and the Kimberley, and I think in some parts of Indonesia. And we've had people come on the boat who, you know, the occasional twitcher who wants to see a chestnut ray, and you know, the pressure's on. You know, you've got to see a chestnut ray. And there's one creek that we know of, that we generally see, that the tides are going to be right, so you've got to work it all out, and if you're right and the tides are right, we get in there and we'll see the chestnut ray and see them a few times. It's usually really early in the morning if we see them, so when I took these photos I wasn't able to, with my camera's not good enough to get really fine shots, but this particular one was chasing crabs. Their favourite food is crabs, and it's amazing, you know, they just sat there and watched it for ages as it just went along the bank, completely oblivious to this, you know, 35-foot sort of aluminium thing with all these people looking at it, right? And there's a crab pleading for its last call for, you know, save me, but no way. And the other thing is, you notice all the mud, they're filthy, they get totally covered with mud. And I wonder how they get it off, you know, or whether they don't bother, maybe they... One of the trip directors on the other boat gives these birds the terrible name of mud chicken. I always think that's a shocking name for a chestnut ray, mud chicken. But I can see why the mud bit's there, because they really are a beautiful bird, very shy and great to see. We saw a couple facing off one day, like two of them sort of sitting up to one another. And other times in this place we've seen sacred kingfisher. Sacred kingfisher are visitors to the Kimberley, so they come up, like I think around here, they come up from down south in the winter time. And this particular fellow, we walked the boat right up to it, and it just sat there. It wasn't going anywhere, and it was, and I believe it must have just had a meal. It was sitting in the sun at about 7 o'clock in the morning, mud on its bill, and just thinking, I'm not going anywhere, I'm just enjoying this food that I have. And he may have one of these, because there's lots of them. And the flame fiddler crab around the Kimberley areas and these creeks on the boat lakes. It's beautiful. You can see all these little red dots on the mud. When you get in close, you can see there these flying fiddler crabs. Beautiful, only about that big. And they supply, their food supply for heaps of animals and crabs. And, I mean, we've got fiddler crabs around here, but not that particular species. Another thing we saw in the mangroves one day was this sulphur-crested cockatoo. And I didn't manage to catch it actually eating. I saw it, but it was eating these things. This is a mangrove apple. And I presume, seeing these are seed eaters, it would have been pulling the seeds out of these mangroves to eat. Yeah, so that's something I've never heard of before. And there weren't a lot of them, there was just the one sulphur-crested cockatoo. They're not very common around there. And he's living on food in the mangroves. And there's lots of other birds I haven't mentioned, of course. And I won't go through all. This is a white phase of a grey goshawk. I took a photo of this one day, thinking it was a sulphur-crested cockatoo, and then I looked at it and went, holy heck, that's a grey goshawk, white phase. And you see there's a little mangrove robin that's got them around. Well, not a lot, so there's a couple of places you can see them. Now this is another place I want to mention. How are we going for time? We're going a bit more. This is another place you see Montgomery Reef. This is a fantastic reef. It's supposedly it's about 300 square kilometres in size, which actually makes it the single biggest reef in Australia. You know, the barrier reef's made up of lots of little ones. Well, this one actually is bigger than any other parts of the barrier reef by themselves. It's about 30 kilometres across there, and it's got this big mangrove island in the middle of it. And it's a weird place. It has 10-metre tides go over it, so every day these tides rise. It almost like it rises up out of the ocean and goes back down again, up and down. And it's got these waterfalls that go off all the time. And we go up, and there's a little creek there. There's a little, well, it's not a creek, but it's sort of like a channel in the reef, and we go up there and boats, and this is what it looks like. And you've got all these this is the water running off the reef at high tide, or at low tide. So as the tide goes down, it continues to run off here. As the tide gets to the bottom, it's still running off, and then it comes back up, and it's still running off. So there's always water emptying this massive amount of the top of this reef. And when that happens, you get lots of people. Sometimes we used to walk on it. They're not allowed to walk on this reef anymore. That's been, this was 2 years ago now, they've stopped that. But you can see it is a nice reef. It's got big rock pools in it. And at high tide, there'd be 4 metres of water over the top of those people's head. And so it's quite a spectacular place. The birds that are on it, now this is the only, all the photos here I've got to see are taken in Kimberley. This one's taken on Green Island because I didn't actually have any photos of eastern reef eagles because they're so common over there. I never bothered to take a shot. But at low tide on that Montgomery Reef, there are literally hundreds of them, but they're all spread out, over the 300 square k's. So you might see one every 100 metres or so. And they're out there feeding day and night, And they fly from the mainland out to the reef, feed and come back. You also see the occupied cormorant, risking their life in the water. There's a few crocodiles and sharks and all sorts of things there as well. And I have seen, there's plenty of these on the beaches as well, but I've seen them out on the reef as well, beach stone coral. And there's plenty of exposed reef in there that eat some crustaceans or whatever on there. A beautiful bird. And you see crested terns flying around, Caspian terns. And one day we saw this bird, the lucky black-faced cuckoo shrike. This reef is about 15 kilometres off the coast. And while we're out there looking at the birds and whatever was around, this thing flew straight towards us. And we thought, what on earth? The wildlife are absolutely marvellous. And if you ever get a chance to go there, you have to get to Broome first because they're 120 k's northwest of Broome, that's in there. And there's 4 islands. They're fairly, on that island there, that's about 3 k's across. And they're very, very low and flat islands. The survey was done in 1982, which is a long time ago, 30 years ago, and they counted 17,500 nesting pairs of brown booties on on these two islands, west and middle Lassabee, which apparently is about the biggest brown booby colony in the world. And they're just everywhere. As you go to the islands, they're flying around, looking at you. It's an amazing sight. There were rats on these islands, which were the Department of Environment and Conservation got rid of them, which is great. There's a pair there. Parents. There's a baby, young one, and there's one of the other ones now. This one here, this is probably about, I think they take about 3 months from egg to here. So this one here, you probably can't see it, but just on the end of its bill there's some blood. And you'll also see some bits of white, and that's some of the down. And they sort of pick some of the down off their legs, wherever they can get the down off. I guess they want to fly with it and get rid of this baby stuff. Now, lesser frigate birds also nest on these islands as well. There's no trees on these islands, and lesser frigate birds usually like to get a high bit of ground, so they're just found on one of the islands right in the middle on some spinifex, which sort of grows up on high bits of coral. And the count they did in 82, they counted 2,700 nesting pairs of lesser frigate birds on this island. These photos, I took all those in, I just sort of put them on this slide, but there's the male, of course, with the red boy, I think, and then the female, and then there's the young one there. And I always like how small the feet on the frigate bird are, those little ridiculous little feet that they've got, because they are such a beautiful bird in the sky, and on land they're useless. And those feet done that. There's hundreds of mollies on these islands. This photo here, taken when we were looking at this beach early in the morning. There was a patch of mollies there, there was a patch of mollies there, another one there. It just went on right along the whole beach. There would have been thousands of them there. And what we also saw that same day, this was in September last year, were these flocks of tern. I believe they're roseate terns, and there's a couple of bridles mixed in there as well. This photo was taken from a fair way away, but I remember we were there early in the morning, and it was just this big flock. It was like you're watching a David Attenborough movie. They just sort of go from white to grey to white as they sort of move around in the sunlight. And then you take a photo of all, you're fascinated by all these, you know. It's amazing. You take a photo, look down here, these little waders that have come across from the Arctic. So the end of September, so it would have been, this is a stopover point back to Roebuck Bay, so there would have been, they would have landed there. Look at those little different waders in there. It's just amazing, this place. And there's some people that are so fascinated by the wildlife up in the sky, they miss the ones in mine. There's many other birds breed on Lassabee as well. There's the sooty tern, bridal tern, pied and sooty oyster catchers breed there. Crested and lesser crested terns breed there. Pelicans, pied cormorants, Caspian terns. Also, one guy recorded some brown quail breeding there as well. So it is a pretty amazing place. And just the last couple of slides, I just put that rising sea levels. But after seeing these talks I saw today, it's quite common for, it seems, for seabirds to get their nests flooded. When we were here on this day, it was a 9.7 metre high tide. We were just there as this tide was coming. We're standing there watching this. You see that bird sitting on an egg there? Just underneath. And the tide just came in and swamped it. And that's a different one. But there are lots of birds there that had their eggs flooded. And we figured they were probably young ones that had built in a bad spot, and maybe they would have had a chance later on how to go somewhere else. But yeah. And catch you later.
Thank you very much, Tom. We've got another presenter here later. What we'll do is we'll break for tea or coffee biscuits. I'm going to be pretty strict because it's only 10 minutes, and then we'll come back for